Welcome to Shatter the Glass podcast. I'm Steffany Rossi, and today we're going to talk about how I accidentally stopped drinking alcohol. We all find ourselves trapped in a glass box, surrounded by barriers and obstacles. We can see what we want the outcome to be on the other side, and in most cases, we know exactly what we need to do to get there, but we fear breaking the glass because we fear the mess it's going to make. And I hate to be the one to break it to you, it's messy getting out of the box. Well, welcome to Shatter the Glass podcast. I'm your host, Steffany Rossi. I want to make 3 things very clear before I start this. Actually, I'm gonna make 4. I'm gonna be looking at my notes a lot because I don't want to miss anything because there is a lot to unpack here. Second, it was never my intention to stop drinking long term. Third, you don't have to hit rock bottom to stop drinking. 4, I don't judge anyone who drinks, and just because this is my journey, everyone else has their own. There is no judgment. Everyone has their own motives to do whatever they please. So if you would have told me a year ago that I would be telling a story like this, let alone my own story, I would have laughed in your face because I never in a million years would I have expected I would have stopped drinking. So this is a very surreal moment telling this story in the detail I'm about to tell it. There might be some pauses in here as I gather more of my thoughts just because it's been a very emotional and transformative year as I have stopped drinking. So a couple days before New Year's last year, it even might have been New Year's Eve. I don't fully remember. A coworker said, "Hey, we're going to do dry January." And I'm like, I don't want to do dry January. Like, I like drinking a lot. I did. And, I was the one people would call if they wanted to go out and drink. I was always the friend. If you wanted to drink, I would be down. I loved a glass of Sauvignon Blanc with my Caesar salad at lunch. By no means I'm saying I did not drink a lot. I drank a lot. But if you also know me, I'm a very, very supportive friend. So I was like, okay, I'll do this. But I'm also very competitive too. So like, if they weren't going to drink, then I wasn't going to drink because I couldn't lose, right? I agreed to do dry January. I was not happy about it, but I agreed. And the first 2 weeks were the absolute hardest. When I got home, it was always a habit to have a glass of wine to unwind from the day. And I barely slept because my body was so confused of why it didn't have Pinot Noir in it when I was going to bed. But our productivity skyrocketed at work. And I get a text that says, I'm thinking about doing 100 days. And again, because I'm a supportive friend, I'm like, let's do it. We're doing it. We're doing 100 days. And because if they were going to do 100, I was going to do 101 because we were competing and I was going to win. By mid-February, I stopped craving alcohol. And then when day 101 came around, I didn't have any interest in drinking and I haven't since. April 11th was day 100. And I'm almost to 300 days now, which is also just crazy to actually comprehend. I started Duolingo the same day I stopped drinking. So my Duolingo streak is also my not drinking streak. So I can't lose either of those. So I've also practiced Spanish every day this year too, just to keep my other streak, both my streaks lined up. So at the time I agreed to all of this, I didn't realize how much alcohol was a part of my life until it wasn't anymore. And I didn't see my life taking a complete 180. I didn't realize how unhealthy alcohol had made me. I didn't realize any of it until you start to experience things differently. You go through your first dinner with friends without alcohol, your first event without alcohol, your first birthday without alcohol, your first holiday, all the things. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. A lot of times it was uncomfortable. A lot of people don't know exactly what to say. They'll ask you questions. And most people do come from a genuine place of curiosity and a genuine place of care. But there are some people who will make comments and statements that aren't so nice. And it's so important to understand that it's not about you and they are projecting their own relationship with alcohol on you because they don't know how to process those emotions themselves. The conversations shift during that time as well. And it's not looking for, the next best happy hour. It's not looking for the best cocktail. It's just different. And this is also probably going to surprise a lot of people, but I'm an introvert. It takes a lot of energy for me to be social. And when I'm social, I need days to recharge. And I would drink socially, so I would be more talkative and outgoing. And I used alcohol as a crutch to make me feel more comfortable around people. But it actually caused me more anxiety than anything. And I wouldn't stop drinking when I left the event. I would continue when I got home and I would have another glass. And then there was weeks where I would go to 3 to 4 events a week and I would be drinking at the event. Well, you had to go to drink before the event, then at the event, and then after when I got home. But the truth is, like, that version of me was never really me. And it was a version of myself that I thought other people wanted. I had more friends, quote unquote friends during that time than I do now. And as you stop drinking, your circle dwindles very quickly. You find a lot of people where you're drinking friends. And, it was a hard pill to swallow at first because, you think these people are your friends, you think these people have your back. And at the end of the day, they didn't care about who you really were deep down to your core. You were just a good time. You were someone to pass time with, but not someone to get in the trenches with. So now at events, when I do go to events, when I'm very selective on what events I even go to, you don't get a fake version of me. You get the full awkward version of myself. And I'm still learning to embrace that in itself, but it is a much healthier version of me. Much better, both mentally and physically. The inflammation went down. I didn't realize how inflamed my body was until I stopped drinking. My energy levels are higher. I sleep more soundly, but the conversations are more meaningful. And the best part is I remember all of them. I don't wake up with anxiety about conversations I had because I am in full control of those conversations. And I was recently asked a question that made me really deeply reflect on what I was going to answer. And it was, what keeps me going when I didn't do this on purpose? Like, what is stopping me from having another drink right now? And every day I choose not to have a drink, I am choosing to honor myself. I choose to be courageous. I choose to remain strong when I know a glass of alcohol will numb the anxiety temporarily. I choose clarity and I choose to remain in control. I am choosing myself over and over again. I'm going to leave you with two things that helped me at the beginning of this journey. Whatever I was drinking at home, whether it was water, LaCroix, whatever it was, I drank it out of my wine glass because it was a comfort to have the wine glass in my hand because I was so used to it. So whatever I was drinking, I would drink it out of my wine glass. And then if a restaurant didn't have a non-alcoholic option, I would do a Topo Chico or something similar with a splash of pineapple juice or grapefruit juice on the rocks in a glass because it was what everyone else was doing, right? You still want to be included in those, and finding what works for you is so important, but also being able to be vulnerable with those people that you do choose to be around. And like I mentioned, your circle is going to get smaller if you do stop. There's a lot of people that aren't comfortable in their own relationship with it, and it'll get projected on you, and it's just easier to adapt and plan ahead for that too. So no, I always look at the menus before I go to restaurants. That way I know what I can order or what I'm going to order, but then always having that backup of my soda water with a splash of juice is always my backup. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so glad you're here. Please follow us on all our social channels, and we will see you next time.